You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. You are joining us for part 2 of our Marvel Cinematic Universe ranking extravaganza. My name is Jordan Lowe.
It's a nice word. I'm Cliff.
Seth is out on assignment tonight. He is looking, I believe, searching for the Dial of Destiny. He might pop in later, but without a poobah, we've got a few special guests here to join us. The OJ, Mr. Jesse Starcher, is here.
And am I excited to be here, guys? Middling. It ain't going to be just mid. I'm middling and meddling. And happening. I'm happening. Say that again.
Call this stuff mid. I think that's an insult, but
that's right. That's right. Not for us. I'm excited. I'm glad you guys brought me in on this. I can't wait.
Glad to have you. Returning, he was on the first part of this one. Mr. Coach Mayor, man with the slowest internet in Lower Salem, Jared Lowe is here.
I am happy to be back. Thank you.
So in case you missed it, I hope you didn't, but in case you did, what we are doing is ranking all 32 movies in the Marvel Studios from Iron Man in 2008 up to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 this year. We're trying to put them in order, trying to pick what we like the best. Last episode, we started at the bottom. We went from number 32 to number 22.
Mm-hmm.
If you missed it, I guess I could recap what happened real quick before we get started on this one. 32, the very bottom of the list, controversial choice, Doctor Strange. 31, Incredible Hulk. 30, The Eternals. 29, Thor, The Dark World. Number 28, Ant-Man Quantumania. Number 27, Captain Marvel. 26, Shang-Chi and the Legend of Them Rings. 25, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. 24, Thor, Love and Thunder. 23, the original Thor. And 22, Iron Man 2. So, those are now off the board. Those have been slotted in. Love it or hate it, they have got their spot. So what we are doing tonight, picking 21 through 12. So my thinking is, hey, this shouldn't be too high pressure because we're still in that middle category. We might not have huge emotional investment, but as Seth reminded us, you're actually picking the top 10 here, right?
That's right.
What you choose tonight pushes everything else to the next round.
Whatever's left behind gets a top 10 spot.
So you have both great power and great responsibility. Are you ready?
I am. No agenda. Maybe.
Yeah, this is we talked last time that again, we like all these movies. There's not a lot of negatives here. We like them all. But yeah, we're definitely getting into a spot here, especially towards the top of this middle 10 where some really great movies that I really love.
Yeah.
That I'm going to have to make the tough decision that they don't belong in the top 10,
right.
That last episode. So may get tough towards the top. But yeah, it should be good.
Yeah. I definitely would say listening to the three that went through the last episode that I probably agreed with Jared the most as far as opinions on some of those movies. Lightning usually doesn't strike twice. So so we'll see what happens tonight. But
Yeah,
first,
you had to sit there. You had to sit there with your tongue tied all
I-
episode.
I did.
And now you get to exert your power.
I finally get to participate. So, no. Yeah, first thing we got to do is we got to figure out we got rules. We've got to pick an order here. We got stuff to take care of before anybody can pick anything.
Seth may not be here, but his rules remain. Just like last time, you're going to get 3 categories: an A, a B, and a C. Each one comes with a choice, a rank, and a few special powers. All right, so you get to choose column A, which only has 3 picks: 18, 17, and the final pick 12. But you get 2 vetoes,
Right.
which is very important if you want to protect something.
Mm-hmm.
Column B just has 1 veto, but you get 4 picks. The first 2 picks, 21, 20, 16, and 13. And then column C gives you a veto, 1 veto and 1 veto override, where if you don't agree with someone else's use of the veto, you can reinstate that movie where it was. And they get 3 picks, 19, 15, and 14. So, like we said, I'm not sure what strategy you might be employing or if there is a strategy to this, but we're going to spin a wheel and see who gets what slot.
Okay. First of all, we got to find a wheel. All right. Everybody here at the moment should be able to see the little wheel. Now that we understand how wheels work, let's spin it. Click to spin, it says. It's got everybody's name on here. The 3 of us that are participating, Jesse, Coach Mayer, and myself.
All right.
Here we go.
Oh,
Jet-
yeah.
Jesse.
Slow down. There we go.
There it is.
All right. All right.
The OJ.
So I get to pick, right?
Mr.
Yes.
Starcher, would you like column A, column B, or column C?
I want the one with the 2 vetoes.
Okay, that's column A.
All right. That one seems really like you own a lot in this game with that. So
yeah, it's
I'm
kind of
taking A.
it's deceiving because I tend to always like my first initial thought is, get as many picks as you can. That's
Right.
usually my thought. But those 2 vetoes can be more. They really become like maybe 2 or 3 extra picks.
Right, especially like we said, in a choice where there's no mystery. We know what's going on the list, we just don't know where. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So okay.
All right, let's
Let's
spin
go
her
again.
again. See where we land.
Ooh.
Yep.
Okay. It's all me. I get the second choice.
Column B with 1 veto and 4 picks, or column C with 3 picks, a veto, and an override.
I guess I'll go with my huge. Gonna go with column B. We'll change. I didn't expect to have that one. Because I've had a few times the most picks, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay, so that gives Jared column C. I believe what you had last episode with I had C. I had the override last time. Okay. All right, so that order is also how you have to use your vetoes, okay? So Jared was last, so he gets to veto last. So we have to Jesse has to declare first,
Mm-hmm.
then Cliff, then Jared if you're going to use a veto. Those are the rules. We love rules and important things like that. All right, so we are going to get started. We know what's already been picked. We've got a lot more to go. I found it kind of interesting. So by phase, shouldn't be surprising, I don't think. So phase 1, there were 6 movies. 3 of them are already gone. 3 of them are left. Phase 4 and 5 here, these more recent ones, most of them are already off the list. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's already 5 we've eliminated, and there's 1, 2, 3, only 4 left. So phase 2, there's a lot of movies from phase 2 and 3, which I feel like we think of as, the classic era, the end of this Infinity Saga. So we'll see if that pattern continues. And we will start with Cliff. You get to pick 21.
Wow, man, it's always it kind of when you get that bottom pick, it almost kind of like influences the whole list if you make it kind of interesting. So, my middle list is it was just off the cuff, from the gut. I did it very quickly. I did not do a rewatch on any of these movies. I feel like I know them well enough, and I know what I like, and I know what I don't want to say don't like, but isn't maybe my favorite. So, pick number 21, I'm going to go with Spider-Man Homecoming.
Ooh.
Man.
This is I've seen this movie a few times, and it's no big secret I may not be the biggest Spider-Man fan. It was okay. I thought it, at the time was pretty good for a Spider-Man movie. But this is the beginning. I think they got better as they went along, at least for me, the Spider-Man movies. And the more we got to see Tom Holland and Zendaya and all the cast from that, I really felt like they grew with each movie. So that's why I'm putting Homecoming at 21.
See, I would have thought as a big Michael Keaton fan, that would be the top of your Spider-Man list.
I will say he was absolutely the highlight of the movie for me. He's what I like. I like Michael Keaton anyways, but I liked him as the Vulture. I thought, he was really good at that. But I don't know. I think it was just a story thing for me. I was probably a little too old. I'm a little too old to be, unless it's Riverdale. I mean, the high school stories are, long past for me. So
High School Dance.
yeah.
Man.
Okay, Jesse, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I've got Homecoming on my list here in the middle. I had it a little bit higher than where he's putting it. And the thing is that I'm in a bind because if I use a veto, I mean, he's got pick 20. So it's like it's not going to go very far.
Maybe.
And me struggling also I didn't like the sequel more than I liked Homecoming. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of tough to thank you. It's tough to swallow that a little bit. I did love Michael Keaton as the villain here as Vulture. And seeing Tom Holland in his first full length, correct? As Spider-Man. So, but I'm going to have to sit back and let you do this to me, Cliff. I'm going to have to let you do it.
Okay.
So I guess it comes in at number, provided somebody else doesn't want to step up. And
hey, I've got a veto too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's tough for me. I think I struggled with ranking these Spider-Man movies more than any others for some reason. I really liked them all. Yeah, some I like a little better than others, but I just like, whenever I look at this list, I'd be like, maybe that's way too high. Maybe it's way too low. For some reason, I couldn't get a good grasp on where I wanted Spider-Man on this list. I don't hate him like Cliff does. We all know long history.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
It's been well documented.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Jet. I could veto this and try to get a little higher, but it's just going to end up going a little bit higher in this list, and I don't know that I want to waste it.
Right.
I think I ended up, and again, I'm looking at this like I don't think that's right, but I had Homecoming ranked higher than the other two. So, but again, I struggled with where to rank these. Also in the back of my head, I feel like Seth was like very adamant that like He was worried about how this was going to go. And I feel
Don't
like,
let him get in your
I
head.
know.
This is our time. He's not even here.
He's not here.
Oh man.
He made his choice. He has to live with it.
I feel like he's going to be disappointed in me.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, you can't. Yeah, there's nothing you could do here other than just make it go up one more spot. That's it.
Yeah,
and you know, if this was something where we had a big gap,
yes,
that's where I would be like, okay, let's do this. But man, sorry.
Yeah, I agree. I would like this higher, but I just don't think there's any point in vetoing it. Cliff's going to get his way, I think, on this one. It's going to be ranked a little lower than I would have liked. But I think I'm okay with it maybe being outside the top 10.
That I think that's the battle, is if you have if you have a movie in the middle section, like, you know, if it's one of your favorite movies, what you feel is a top 10 section, and somebody picks it down here in the middle part somewhere, you know, it's kind of like, ugh, I really need that to go up. But but if it's even at the bottom of the middle, if it's a movie that you have somewhere in that middle, that's a tough decision to make. So we got to live with it.
Okay, let it slide.
Sounds like we're locking in Spider-Man Homecoming at number 21. Immediately, something from my top 10 has been eliminated. So thank you for that.
Oh, wow.
Shake it up.
You have the power. Number 20. Let's go.
All right, number 20. I'm going off my list here. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Jesse's squirming over there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't dislike this movie at all. It had some cool stuff in it. It was very different, you know, coming from Sam Raimi. We talked about this, or Jordan, you guys talked about this movie. At one point it was in the bottom of the list in the last episode, and I just don't love it. You know, just as a whole, it's a little too horror for me. I think the performances are fine. I liked America Chavez in the character, how she was portrayed in it. But man, it's a lot. And, I kind of agree with what somebody had mentioned last time about, you know, the possibility of this movie not aging well, depending on what happens with the Fantastic Four and casting and X-Men and stuff. Had some cool moments in it. I dug the zombie, you know, the dream walking into the zombie body and bringing that back. I thought it was cool when they played the old X-Men cartoon theme when Professor X rolls across the screen. But I also thought, like, they were those characters for being, you know, they were the all-powerful characters, were just thrown to the side so easily. You know, just defeated so easily.
Right.
So stuff like that I didn't like about it. I really like Wanda, but I'm not sure. The character may have gotten a little too dark for me in this movie. You know, and that may be true to the comics. It may be true to the character, but just my opinion. You know, I don't know.
And it's a bummer, some of the behind the scenes stuff of her talking like she doesn't even want to be the character anymore. To go out with that's kind of a bummer ending for that character, if it is the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree with you in the fact that it got dark enough to where Scarlet Witch was just like killing other superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not, I mean, look, I get it. You know, this is a chance for us to be on the scary side of things and the Marvel Cinematic U, but her being able to handle all those heroes all at once in one, you know, it wasn't like one shot, but I mean, granted, these are heroes that should be able to stand up against her pretty well.
They should be able to hold their own a little bit here. And
yeah, it was like, I mean, it was, granted, it was great to see them. And that was one of the things that I was reading. Is like this film had some great fan service, especially building. We knew Professor X may possibly be in this movie. Oh my goodness, finally. And then it's like she's just able to wipe the floor with everybody there. Mr. Fantastic. And it was just, look, Mark Radulich, just to bring up the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, as Seth calls them, the Radishes and Broccoli Network. Look, he said the multiverse of missed opportunities. When he said that, it rang true with me. It was something that made me go, yeah. I mean, there was so much here that you could have done that just, hey guys, here's everything. And now it's all gone. We're just taking it all away from you. And it's Sam Raimi. And what a visual feast of Sam Raimi style do we get in this? I had it higher than this. I did have it on my list. I had it higher than this. But there are some sins that I cannot forgive it for. And I think that might be it. So
you gotta love that dimension hopping, like what if feeling to it of other versions.
Right. There's 3 movies on this list I went to go see in the theaters. And that was, I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. I took the kids to this. We all sat down. We watched it. Colton's sitting there. He's 8 years old. He's trying to figure out why these heroes are getting killed. And I had to explain to him, well, let's go home and watch Army of Darkness and I'll show you what's up. But no, I mean, I'm going to let this one go as even though I had it higher, I'll let you have this one where it's at number 20, unless Jared, you feel free to step in.
Oh, we know how he feels about Doctor Strange.
Yeah, so this, if I recall correctly, I believe this is the one I tried to put in the bottom of the list, last time out, and I think Seth maybe vetoed it. Tell you, he's living rent free in my brain right now. I gotta forget about it. Seth. Okay. So I had tried to put it on. Seth vetoed. Something else ended up going its place. I think maybe that's how original Thor got in the bottom 10 or whatever. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with this placing. Agree with you guys. Again, like we're getting into the middle of the list here. I like all these movies. This. I like I like that Sam Raimi kind of brought his own kind of vision to it. I'm not a huge horror guy, so a lot of that stuff maybe didn't click with me. And then, it was probably too long, maybe too much going on, sort of thing. But yeah, I'm perfectly okay with the placing here. It makes sense to me.
That makes sense. So it almost got in the bottom third of the list, so there was little chance it was going to be in the top 10. So slot it in here, number 20 makes perfect sense. So that brings pick 19 to Jared, his first pick.
Okay. So I got a couple kind of down here at the bottom of the list. I'll figure out which one I want to go with. I think I'm going to have to put in. Let's just go for it. The most recent movie on the list, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Again, I like this movie. Probably a little bit of recency bias on this one. Only seen it once. It could be one that kind of grows on you. But I really like the Guardians trilogy. Really like that first one. I liked the second one quite a bit. This one just didn't quite hit the highs for me that maybe the first one and the second one did. So it's maybe a little disappointing from that standpoint. I don't know. I don't have a ton to say on this one. I just kind of had it down here towards the bottom of the middle for me. Like I said, it's one of these. I think we talked about it last time. A lot of these more recent ones, it feels like as time goes on, they could go up the list maybe a little bit. Just because watch it again. Oh yeah, I remember that. The way it fits in with the overall. That's why I think a lot of these older ones are getting, because they have a place, not only a place in our brain of what the movie was, but also how it fit into the Infinity Saga and that sort of thing that we're not quite getting with these more recent ones, just because they're it's still kind of happening. So in that sense, yeah, I mean, I like the Guardians movies. Maybe don't love them as much as everyone here. and the other two I think deserve to be quite a bit higher than this one. But just from a kind of a recent one, only seeing it once, I had a lot of stuff above this one on my list. So if it survives here, I'll say Guardians 3.
Well, here's the thing. I'll just go ahead and say this right now. This is the one movie that I did not have the chance to see. I had quite a few on there that I was going down through my list, and luckily there was like 4 total, one of which was this, and the other 3 you already knocked out on the previous list. So I was like, man, hopefully it's good enough to make it to the top 10. Apparently not, because now I have to say something about it and I don't have anything to say. So I'm going to have to, I can't veto anything because I don't really have anything to argue with or support an argument therefore. So you may get this one free unless Cliff has something to say about it.
I really like this movie. Guardians, I was not down on this nearly as much as some other people were. I cried, my daughter cried through the entire movie. My wife cried in the movie. We really liked it. Guardians is, that's pretty high up there. And I think it's a trilogy. I think it works. Yeah, it had some sad parts in it. Yeah, I get that some people had some issues with, the animal stuff. But I really thought the High Evolutionary was a good villain. He was intense. He had a plan. He had well, maybe not motivation, but it really, it gave us I thought a good, after setting up years and years and years of, why Rocket got to be the way he is, we finally find out. And I thought it paid off for me. It was good enough, in that aspect, but it's silly. It's Guardians. I always lean towards those weird oddball mixture of characters that, that the weirdo family always appeals to me, in any universe. So, but
I would just say, if I can argue, one thing they mentioned, I don't mind, like you said, it was emotional. I had good emotion. To me, I think I came away from it thinking maybe it pulled the punches a little bit. It's like, everyone kind of ended up happy, and it's like, okay, like I felt like you kind of earned maybe some of those characters like actually dying and like ending their story in a good way, and it's like, and they kind of pulled back at the end, which I get it, you want them in future movies and things, but so I felt like it kind of pulled a little bit at the end, was one of my critiques.
I was fully going into it, was like, okay, not which character, but which characters are gonna die here. And it was almost like you said, in a way it was a pleasant surprise, because I was like, oh, what's kind of nice, like they get to go on, do their, it's not, we're going to mourn forever. I thought it was going to be Drax or Rocket or somebody was going to end up, not moving forward, in that way. But, I'm not going to spin the veto, because as a collective list, we've got what, 5 of us still putting this list together. I kind of feel like I may have a different opinion than the majority here, so I'm gonna just let it be.
Yeah, I don't think there's room for all 3 in the top 10, is what I'll say. So
yeah,
maybe something's gotta end up in the middle here.
I definitely had it in the middle of the list, but it was on the other end.
That seems fair. I have no opinion. All right. Now Jesse gets to make his first pick at number 18.
18. All right. You guys have not clicked off the bottom of my list. So this is going on there, if we can get it on there. And that is going to be Iron Man 3. And I'll say that, I had to let the other ones go, even though this was at the bottom. I really didn't feel like I need to try and make an argument keep Iron Man 3 at the bottom for some reason. But there's a couple things that there's a lot of good things that are going on with this movie, especially when you compare it to 2. You know, you're watching some human elements here with Tony Stark, him trying to deal with his PTSD and some of the dark aspects of what's going on with him, which is, well, you know, that's a heavy subject. And when you're talking about especially superheroes and PTSD, and that's you know, that's being explored and has been explored, especially what was that DC comic that oh my goodness, Tom King, was it Tom King that did it? Flash,
something Crisis.
Yeah, I'm sure it was something Crisis.
Oh, yeah. Final Crisis.
Was it?
No.
It was one where the Flash was dealing with PTSD.
Yes.
And ended up
I've got
anyway
every issue of it.
We can't remember what that is, but I can tell you this much: it's not a Marvel movie. But yeah, you know, we also got Shane Black coming in here.
Heroes in Crisis.
Thank you. There it is. But we got Shane Black coming in here making a Christmas movie, which he's kind of known for. But I'll tell you the one thing that I just forgive me right now, because a lot of times what you're going to see when I start making picks, or at least arguing about picks, is I'm going to be griping about the villain. And my goodness, how many people were upset about Ben Kingsley and the Mandarin? That was some people were like, oh, okay. And some people were like, no way. No way. And I remember, this is another one of those that I went to the theater and watched. And I don't get to the theater very often. And I was like, here we go. It's the Mandarin. Nope. So Iron Man 3 is going to go at the number 18 spot.
I tried to knock it off the list much earlier. Nobody
I remember.
would let me.
I remember.
But I realized I said I was kind of ho-hum about the Mandarin, and it's like, oh, I had no problem with the Mandarin. I'm going to go on record. I liked it. I liked what they did. I thought it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to the point where you can't have some mystical Oriental, you know, mysticism, you know, that doesn't fit in today's pop culture world. So taking the idea of that and putting that twist on it, I thought was very clever. Again, it's usually love it or hate it, so I'm going to officially, for the record, say I loved it.
He loves it.
Yeah, I also liked it. I didn't love it, but I did like that. My problem with villain-wise with that movie, and I think this is a good spot for it, as good as any. I didn't like the extremist fire people. That did nothing. They were just nothing to me. Like, I was so uninterested in that. Had it been more Mandarin, I probably would have liked it, you know, a little bit more.
Aldrich Killian, I think, was the villain's name, you know, the guy that was doing the extremist stuff. And you're right. I mean, they did feel kind of inconsequential.
Mm-hmm. But I don't hate this movie. You know, we don't hate any of these really, I'm sure. But yeah, I think this is probably where it needed to be.
Agree. I'm good with this spot. I can't remember. Okay, so Jordan, you were the one that tried to put it in the bottom, I think, maybe.
You tried to put Iron Man 2 and you wouldn't let me. Then I tried to put Iron Man 3 and you wouldn't let me.
Okay, yeah, so I think I vetoed your Iron Man 2, and maybe Seth vetoed your Iron Man 3, if I recall. Right. Yeah. Because I had 2 higher than 3.
Iron Man 2 is definitely the superior, but, you know.
So we had Iron Man 2 at 22, so this one's a little higher. Yeah, so a little higher than I would have it. But yeah, I'm good with it here. I you know, I said last time, I'm a big Guy Pearce fan. I thought I like Guy Pearce in that movie, but yeah, overall not as memorable to me as the other Iron Man. So I'm good with this spot here.
Okay.
All right, so Jesse gets to come right back and do pick 17.
Okay. This one was, I don't know if it may have hit theaters. I think it did. I'm going to go with Black Widow at number 17. Now, we watched it at the house. This was a Disney Plus thing? Tell me, do you guys remember? Did it hit theaters? I'm sure it did, right?
Yeah, it did, but I think most of us watched it on Disney Plus.
Okay,
that was one of those ones you had to rent. You had to pay money.
Yeah,
for the early release.
Gotcha. Okay, all right. So yeah, we had watched this one at the house, and granted, it's fine film. I mean, I'm not going to really have too much to say that about really why I disliked it. Florence Pugh was fantastic in it. One of the first movies that I know she's been in a lot of stuff, but I think that's probably one of the first movies that I've actually recognized her in, and was like started paying attention to her as Yelena Belova, I think is her character's name. And her and Hawkeye was great. So, just getting seeing what she was doing here in Black Widow was awesome. There's also a lot of, there's some dark themes in this one. I mean, especially with what the widows were dealing with and the hysterectomies and things like that. Some of that stuff was kind of like, and then some of the criticisms that I had seen, I did a little bit of research. So I'm like, why were they deflecting, a lot of this darkness with immediate humor? So if you're going to strike anything against Black Widow, I guess you could throw that in there. But as far as villains, let's talk Taskmaster and how much I was kind of let down. I was just let down.
Odin doesn't like a lady Taskmaster.
Was not impressed. So there you go. I mean, there's my argument for putting Black Widow at number 17.
Yeah. Again, there's something about this movie that I really like, and that's the family dynamic.
Family, right?
Right. Every one of those characters I thought was interesting. And the way they were put together and came back around. But yeah, I totally agree. Like the Taskmaster, it was just written poorly. I mean, it was like, hey guys, this needs to be a villain in the movie. And they just went, well, it came off to me as like, well, we don't really, okay, fine, we'll write it in somewhere. But it just, there wasn't much behind it. I did not get the feel I was supposed to get with the reveal of the story there. I thought the Dreykov character it was pretty cool. Like, the guy behind it running the show, I thought that was interesting. Some of the special effects, not so great. But yeah, just getting the Red Guardian. I love that character in this movie. Yelena is great. I guess after seeing what happens to Widow, getting to revisit that character once more, because I thought, well, this is going to be really lame. I remember thinking that, like, we know what happens to her. Nobody's going to be interested in her anymore because, the universe in the movies has moved on. But I thought it was nice, and that's what I liked out of it. I definitely think, it should have, been somewhere here in the middle. Maybe, I don't know. Out of what's left, yeah, I'll agree. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so I had this one exactly at number 17 on my list, so we're right in line with where I had it. So I'm happy. Yeah, I think I think a lot of the stuff kind of surrounding the mess of the world and what was happening when this one came out probably hurt. Put it in a weird spot with a lot of fans' eyes, and that they didn't go to theaters to see it. They watched it at home. It was a crazy time for all of us. So I think that probably hurt, because I think if you just poll like the random Marvel fans on the street, this was probably towards the bottom. I don't think people have a high opinion of this in the general public, but I was kind of specifically wanted it, out of that bottom 11, because I remember liking it, a little better. I thought it deserved a little better. So I'm happy that we kind of made it to this spot here in the middle, specifically for the reasons you guys talked about. I love Florence Pugh in that role. David Harbour was great. Was it Rachel Weisz or whatever?
Yeah,
is the kind of the mom
I
figure
always like
there.
her in
the
anything.
family dynamic. That Yeah. So that was all good stuff for me. And yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but yeah, I think just everything that went around it, kind of coming out, made it kind of a weird thing. And then people don't maybe think of it, in line with these other, movies about Avengers and things, but that's really what it was. And I thought it was done pretty well. So yeah, very happy with this placing here.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I don't know any movie on this list had the deck stacked against it more.
Yeah.
Like if this had come out in phase 1 or 2 when we were introducing all the other Avengers, like it should have, I think we get a great spy thriller, fun origin movie. Well, why on earth we waited this long till after the character was dead to explore her makes no sense.
And
but I do hope, like I said, the Taskmaster, we're pretty sure they're coming back for Thunderbolts, right? So maybe we'll get some redemption for that character. Maybe we'll learn a little more about him, and maybe it'll flesh that out a little more and make us like her a little bit better, is my hope.
But think about that too. Like you said, had this movie came out in like phase 1, think of how much Red Guardian we could have had.
Oh my gosh. That would have been so great.
So, okay.
All right, guys. So that makes it the halfway point.
Ooh.
So this next pick is the first pick of the second half, or the top half, or whatever you want to call it. So Cliff gets pick 16, and we're shooting to the top.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Wow. I'm just, our list and my list are looking pretty similar as far as what's off the board right now. So I am going to go with my number 16 on my list, here on the list. And I'm going to choose Avengers Age of Ultron. It's a movie I actually saw I watched part of. It was on TV or something not too long ago. I just remember not caring that much about this movie. Like, it was fine. I thought, James Spader, he's awesome as Ultron. This should be great. But I did not like what they did with the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in their debut or whatever, them in this movie. I just didn't care for it. I didn't like the origin of it. I wasn't big on the storyline. I will say this was kind of like the first movie that the Avengers are like the Avengers. They're in the beginning of I remember that first scene, they're working together as a team in tandem, doing all these cool moves and combos. And that was awesome. It should have been more of that, I thought. But this is the movie where we get Vision in it. And I don't know. It just, it just never did. I feel like it was a middle of the road movie for Marvel, and it should have been better than it was.
You had to amp it up with the sequel. This is the second Avengers movie, correct?
Yeah.
Number 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of tough to follow that up. You got to have a good story. You got to have a good villain to try and really amplify things. Ladies and gentlemen,
there was some.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say there was some weird stuff in this too, like with the Scarlet Witch and the whole, like making Tony see visions and all that crap. And I was just like, what is this?
This one where they made Thor get in the bath and like have.
That's what I was gonna say. Is this? Yeah, they shoehorned in the Thor scene of him getting in the hot tub and having visions, and it made no sense.
Yeah. Sorry, Jesse, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
oh, you're all right. I was just going to let everybody know something that everybody probably already knows, and that is AI is not your friend. Okay, I think that was 2015 You're now 8 years outside of Age of Ultron, and folks, it's getting even closer. James Spader is going to be voicing Siri before long. Just be ready. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm not going to argue against this pick because I actually have it just one spot above where this is landing at. So it's not like I'm going to have a hard time with it being at number 16 here. James Spader, yeah, I mean, I remember watching the trailer for this thing and going, oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. This is Ultron. This is one. As far as villains go, I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine with Ultron and James Spader as Ultron as a villain. But yeah, there was some weird stuff. I mean, again, you got to try and follow up Avengers. Was it done well? I don't know. I think there's an argument to be had that no, I don't think it was.
It's like the movie, the whole purpose of the movie was to set up more movies. Instead of just making an awesome movie and going, okay, let's move on to the next thing. It was like, no, we're going to use this to set up what happens in the future with Tony and Cap and, all this. I don't know.
I'm okay with that. Right. I'm okay with that as long as it's going to fit into the larger narrative well. That's the main thing. And it does at some point get referenced to, I think, later on down the line as we're watching all of these citizens of Sokovia almost just in peril here. And there's going to be an argument to be had in a later movie about that. So, but yeah, you're right. It is a stepping stone. And yeah, I mean, as far as I enjoyed the movie, yeah, I'll be okay with it at this spot.
Yeah, I think I had it maybe a couple slots higher, but not a ton, right? So that this is probably about, again, we're in the top half of the list. These movies are all great. They all have great things about them and great moments and great scenes and great, I think with this one, I think about, them hanging out in Avengers Mansion, having the party. Like, I feel like if you're, I hate to keep bringing up Seth, but if you're a guy like Seth who's been reading Avengers, for 30, 40 years, like he probably ate that stuff up, right? Avengers hanging out in the mansion, that kind of stuff. Probably loves that.
Doesn't the hammer move a little bit for Captain America in this one too? Just a tiny little bit?
Yeah, exactly. Foreshadowing. But there was a little bit of that stuff. Yeah, the Thor scene that they kind of stuck in there that had nothing to do with anything, but it was all about, trying to explain Infinity Stones and okay, we get it. It's the larger thing that's going on. But yeah, it definitely took away from this movie and this story. Yeah, I liked the Ultron character. I thought that was a kind of a cool way to do it. Again, it's similar to the comics. It's it's their own creation has kind of gotten out of hand, and AI. That's the AI fear, right? The second it comes online and becomes conscious, it's like it can download the world's knowledge in a nanosecond and can take over the world, right? It crosses that threshold, and it's like, oh yeah. So I love that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, again, a lot of things I love about it. But I think this is probably the right spot for it on our list. We're too much in agreement. There's no vetoes.
I feel like we're racing right through this.
I always feel the need to defend this movie. I don't know from who, but I feel like I do. Because when it came out, I know fans were a little let down. Like we were riding that high, these first two phases. And I remember critics didn't like it as much. And critics were being very kind to a lot of these movies, which they never were before to comic book movies. Mm-hmm. And so this was the first one I remember being kind of let down. And I am sure I felt the same way. Like, wow, Ultron was kind of weird and quippy. And if you don't like that Joss Whedon snappy patter from everybody, like I can see that getting on your nerves, especially from a robot. But if this one is on cable every weekend, and anytime I flip past it, I will stop and watch a minute and be like, wow, that's a fun scene. The Vision stuff. That ending with Sokovia shooting skyward and them like holding off the drones, circling around the thing to fight off all the... I love the last half hour or so. Them rescuing civilians and pulling people out of cars and Quicksilver running around saving everybody and sacrificing himself. Like, I adore the ending to this one. So this is definitely one that whatever initial letdown I had has grown on me. it's not a top 10 movie, but it was the top of my middle category. So yeah, this is a fine slot for it, but I feel like all the other Avengers movies are beloved, and this one's kind of the stepchild. And I always feel like, no, but this one's good too, you guys. But it is fourth best. So I have to admit that, and we'll move on from there.
Yeah, the other thing about this one too is I think it's interesting that like the fallout from the events of this movie resonate more than a lot of these other movies, right? So like, Civil War is all about what happened in Age of Ultron, ultimately leading into how all of the relationships are fractured when you get into Infinity War and like that kind of stuff. It's like it has a very long kind of fallout from the events, which kind of, when you look at it from a whole, it's like, okay, yeah, let's not discount Ultron. It was trying to do something, and it had all these effects on these movies down the line. But yeah, looking at it just kind of on its own, I don't think it stacks up maybe to the other Avengers movies. Again, top half, great movie, but this is the right spot.
We're getting into the cream of the crop here. I love it.
Oh yeah.
All right, so according to my math, there are 4 picks left in this episode, and there are 4 vetoes left. So let's unsheath them, boys. Let's let them rip.
I've had them ready to go. Let me just tell you that right now. But things are, we're going to see how things unfold here because we're going to make sure.
It's going to get a little messy.
Basically, exactly how it happened last time, right? We kind of were in agreement until we got to the last handful of picks, and we just vetoed everything. So we were thinking, okay, let's get it up to the next spot. That's what's going to happen here, I have a feeling.
All right, so Jerry gets his second pick at number 15.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna stay true to my list here and go with what I've got kind of marked a little bit lower than 15. From 2018, I've got Ant-Man and the Wasp. So this is the sequel to Ant-Man. I love Ant-Man. I really like these movies. What I like, so I ranked, I think maybe I was one, was I the one that picked? Yeah, I don't think I was. Okay. Quantumania ended up kind of lower on the list, right?
Yeah, Seth picked that one.
As the newer one. I also had a bum list. I can't remember if I picked it or one of the other guys. But I think one of my criticisms of that movie was I like kind of the smaller scale of the Ant-Man movies, right? It wasn't global, destruction and things like that. Like every other Marvel movie, I kind of like the original Ant-Man and the sequel. Had a little bit smaller scale. It was, it was Ant-Man and his family and his friends, and he was fighting the good fight and kind of doing that thing. So that's why I like these first 2 Ant-Man movies, and I definitely wanted them higher up here on the list. This, I don't know. I mean, I think I like the original a little better than this one. So like I'm thinking back to the original of like the Michael Pena character. Like he was so great in that original, kind of out of the blue. And then I felt like in the sequel, it's like, man, he was great. Let's just do the same thing again in the sequel. It's like, okay, yeah, I liked it again. It's great. But it's like the novelty of that character. I just liked it a little better, in the first one than the second one. So this is the one with Ghost is the villain here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the kind of public opinion is on that villain. I think it was an okay take, on that, on kind of a villain character, kind of a tragic character. You kind of got some of the motivation there. And I thought it was interesting. Like the Lawrence Fishburne character is he's not a bad guy, right? But he's trying to help this girl. So I liked kind of the complicated dynamics of the villain thing kind of happening there. I don't know. I'm just talking about how I like that Walton Goggins is in it. I love him as an actor.
Michelle Pfeiffer, though.
So yeah, I mean, it's great. We're to the point of the list where I really like that movie. I've got 15 other movies that maybe I like a little better than it. So this is where I've got. I don't know what's the thoughts from the other guys here.
Well,
Go ahead, Jesse.
I can tell you that this is exactly where I want to have it. I had it lower on this list, and I didn't want to argue for it at any point. So this is perfectly placed, in my opinion. This is a feel-good movie. I went to the theaters and watched this. This was funny because my daughter, she's followed along with these Marvel movies, no problem. But it's when we got to take her friend who had never seen a Marvel movie before, we had to explain what in the world the end credit scene was all about. She's like, "What happened? What is that? Why is everybody gone?" But yeah, I mean, I had a great time watching this film. It was a fun time, fun ride, and this is the one. Isn't like Anthony playing the drums? Is he playing rock band in this one? Yeah, it's great. Go Anthony. Walter Goggins.
I had forgotten that this came out after Infinity War.
Yeah, this was the next movie that came out after Infinity. So this was like the 20th movie. Infinity War was the 19th movie.
Infinity War was April, and then July of 2018.
Yeah.
So we've just watched half our favorite characters turn to dust. And like, come have a fun Ant-Man movie. Yeah, I completely forgot that.
Oh, man. Yeah. Walter Goggins, though, I mean, I love him as an actor. Okay. No doubt about it. But I don't know if he was used the greatest here. I mean, granted, our main villain, if you want to put him in quotes, was our the Ghost, which it's funny because there are plenty of villains that I know in the Marvel universe, and Ghost is definitely not one of them because I didn't know what I was getting with this character. So I don't have anything to go like, oh, that was different from the comics. I didn't know. So, but she did fine. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll be done arguing in order to support where it's at.
Yeah. I really like the Ant-Man movies, all of them. And I really like this movie. And what this movie, I really, it's like there's a villain. Oh yeah, I forgot. Because I like everybody else and I like what's happening and what's going on with everybody else so much. And I'm just like, oh yeah.
It almost doesn't matter in an Ant-Man movie.
No.
No. There's Michael Pena. As long as he's in there, okay, I'll remember that. The villain could, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at our list here, and I'm looking at my list that I came into it with, and other than 19, everything is so far exactly the same in the exact position I had it in, except for number 19. So yeah, yeah, I mean, I had it right here at 15, and I don't know. I mean, I don't really want to argue with myself about where I put it, so I'm just gonna okay.
Yeah, in my memory, looking back on these, I always thought, okay, Ant-Man 1 is phenomenal. Ant-Man 2 wasn't nearly as good, but I rewatched them both before Quantumania, and I was like, 2 is amazing. 2 was wonderful. But I also didn't have it in the top 10. So that this middle category, there's a lot that fits here.
Yeah.
And I want to defend this movie and tell you how great it is.
It is.
There's a bunch of other movies I think are even greater. So
but, I mean, we're talking we're top 15.
Yeah.
Top 15 Marvel movies. Like that's not too shabby right there.
And we're gonna get more with these characters, I'm sure. Like I said, Ghost will be in Thunderbolts. We might totally redeem that character as well. So I'm sure there'll be more Ant-Mans at some point, or Cassie will come back as Stature or something. So yeah, it's all to be continued. So we're in your last 3 picks, everybody. This is it. This is your last shot to get something into the top 10 or to keep something out of the top 10. You got to figure what's your motivation to get your favorite movie bumped up, or to make sure something else does not make it there.
Yeah.
So Jared, you get pick 14.
Yeah, this is tough here. So I'm looking at the one that I've got ranked lowest. It is not on the list yet. I'm trying to decide if that's the one that I want to put here.
because I do feel like Cliff says he has a list that's numbered and he's going to stick with it, but like it is fluid. Like at the end, the end of last episode, I hated all 4 Doctor Strange movies being done. So like you sometimes have to pivot to see where the list is taking shape. So you might want to tweak something you wouldn't have expected. But who knows? It's your pick. Go nuts. I'm
looking back at last week, and I do see that there was one that Seth tried to put in the bottom that's still hanging out there. He didn't get his way on this one because I don't think I'm going to pick it either.
Not your job.
Exactly. Gosh. It worries me. Man. I think I'm going to see everything's a little jumbled now. It all goes back to Cliff putting the Homecoming at number 21 and messes everything up. Because, I had that one higher. And I kind of feel bad, but the lowest one on my list right now, I got to say, it's Spider-Man Far From Home. That's the second one, right? I want to make sure I get it right. That's the Jake Gyllenhaal, right? Far From Home?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So this is the sequel. This is the second. I'm worried that I'm setting up a Spider-Man less top 10. Could we possibly do that? I got a veto maybe, so I can make sure it doesn't happen. So I'm going to stay true to my list here and put Spider-Man Far From Home at number 14. Again, we're talking top 15, top of the list. This is great. I love these movies. I guess this one probably comes down to how you feel about the Mysterio character, how they did that. I didn't hate it. I think there was a lot of good here. I don't know. And I like Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it now. I know I've watched this one a couple times. I think it was an interesting take on it, kind of modernize that character that, let's face it, is pretty silly in the comics. He's got a fishbowl on his head and so like it kind of modernized it in a way. But man, I don't know. What do you guys think? This is where I've got it on the list. What do you guys think?
So I have this definitely on my list here. How many picks we got left? We got 3.
That was Jared's last one, and you each have 1 left.
Yeah,
all right, Cliff got 13 and you got 12.
I want to ask a stupid question because I may have missed the format here. We're leaving stuff for the top 10. Who's picking number 11?
It's the top 11.
It's the top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, then. Now I get it. All right.
We already had this argument. That it made more sense to go 11,
11.
11, and then a top 10. Seth would
All
have
right.
none of it.
I totally wanted to group 11 into the middle and have a top 10, but no.
Although
no.
he's not here, we could just do it.
I heard top 10 and I was like, we're stopping at 12. Okay. All right. So guess what? Spider-Man Far From Home is at my number 14 position. So I am not arguing against this.
Tonight.
I'm telling you, dude. This is a great sequel to follow up the original. I think I had this lower, and like I said, I argued about the first Spider-Man being so low, but I knew that it could just come back in at 20, so I didn't use the veto. So I'll go. I mean, Spider-Man Far From Home right here is fine. I know I said I had it on my list, but as far as what my list is left over, that's where it would have to be at number 14. We get a great relationship between Zendaya and, of course, Tom Holland, Peter Parker, and MJ there. This is a pretty, this was fun. Yeah, when it comes down to Mysterio, I like Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. I thought it was great. I thought the concept behind what he was, the villainy that he was doing by having all of these monsters appear and so he could look like the hero. It was great. What I did not like was they teased me. We talked about the multiverse of madness. Mysterio comes by and he was like, "There's a whole multiverse." I'm like, "Yes, let's go." And then he's like, "Just kidding. I'm just a villain." So I was kind of a letdown there, but yeah, I mean, this is where it's going to be. So I'm going to say that I will agree right here. At number 14 can be Spider-Man Far From Home, because I don't think it needs to go up any higher.
Unless Cliff wants to veto and get this.
Go for it.
So this was my number. This was my number 19 that we skipped on my list. It was down a little bit. Yeah, I didn't like.
It still shocks me you ranked this one above Homecoming.
Yeah.
So is it you like Mysterio better than Vulture, or was it different reasons altogether?
I think I liked the Peter and MJ story better. In this one is really what it was.
It's progressed a lot further,
and I thought it was kind of cool. Like they're on a field trip, overseas, and yeah, I thought that's a better or a different idea for these movies. Taking them out of New York and into a place where people don't know who Spider-Man is or whatever. As probably any Swiftie out there would probably agree that Jake Gyllenhaal is probably was a better real life villain than a pretend one in this movie.
He said Swiftie. He said Swiftie.
I said Swiftie.
My daughter's a Swiftie, so yes, I've heard all about Jake Gyllenhaal and his crimes.
Oh, absolutely. It's dinner talk table at my house. So yeah, I didn't, I thought the suit would look cool, but the whole, I don't know, I just didn't buy it. I would have rather, and I get it. I know the story, the character from the comics. Oh, he was a stunt man or a special effects man and that type of thing. But it just seems so lame and unbelievable, seeing it in this movie. I did not like, we're using drones and crap like that. I'm sure a lot of people do. I was like, that's it, drones. Okay. Projections.
Drones.
So yeah, it was my number 19. I was gonna throw this movie out there one way or another. So Jared did it for me.
Yeah, I definitely would have flip-flopped the two. I put Homecoming way above Far From Home, even though Far From Home's fine. I like it. Yeah, I would definitely have had it at the bottom of the list and Homecoming up higher. Because this one ends. He reveals his identity. Like that's a big thing, and we were left hanging on that for so long. Yeah.
And who did that, by the way? I mean, well, I should say who reported on that. One J.K. Simmons.
Jolly Jonah.
That's right. That is right.
But yeah, Homecoming, that idea, the Vulture is a classic character, but not. I would have had a hard time imagining you modernizing that character. A creepy old man with wings. I'm a Vulture. No, you tied in the damage control and a guy who literally picks scrap for a living and like goes through people's trash. Like that's so, like I tip my cap to how genius that is of a way to update it, tie it into the Marvel universe where New York got blown up a decade ago and we're still clean. So yeah, again, we're celebrating Marvel here, and we've always talked about that, how well these all mesh together from one to the next. Even when there's some clunkiness, it's still a cohesive universe for 99% of it. And how amazing is that? Do you
guys, how do I want to say it, notice a difference in these Spider-Man movies from the rest of the other movies, knowing they were, half Sony or whatever? Like, do you feel like they fit perfectly in, or they're kind of out there on the edge a little bit?
Was that what Jared was saying at the beginning? He kind of, you said you had a hard time with the Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I think my might have been that it's just like it was a, I don't know, maybe that is what it was, or it's just like it's a pretty cohesive like trilogy with all the same characters, and so it was like it was hard for me to definitively say one was better than the other. I really like this one, or again, I ended up having Homecoming ranked higher than the other two, so that's the one that kind of got flipped around for me too. But yeah, this is about where I had Far From Home. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it's difficult for me to kind of separate them, I guess, a little bit.
I mean, I feel a little bit of a difference when you're watching a Spider-Man movie versus you're talking about the core Marvel Cinematic view. Yeah. I think they definitely try to get that feel across that, hey, we're kind of out here by ourselves, even though we're involved in all this other stuff. And well, I mean, he's got a big part of that, of course, is his relationship with Iron Man. But I agree. I mean, I feel like it can feel a little separated sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting.
All right. 2 picks left. Your last shot, Cliff, number 13.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're on the subject of Spider-Man. Spider-Man No Way Home. Shake it up. I like this movie. I definitely like it more than the other Spider-Man movies. I thought it was good. It's neat. It was fun to see the other Spider-Men come back. That, as a whole, I'm just not into Spider-Man.
Really? Really now?
Yeah. So, and this was Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, and really for me, it was just, those are 2 characters that they're fine, but they're at the bottom of my list of the established what we're dealing with characters for me. So, I had fun going to see it. I had a good experience. I liked it more than I ever thought I would, but there are so many more movies that I like better than this one. And that's what it comes down to me. It's not a vengeance thing on Spider-Man. But there are just, when I'm looking at my total list, that's where it fell. And I like a bunch of other movies better. So
I had the
villain.
Yeah, right over there, folks. I had the worst poker face when you released what that pick was going to be. Yes, I am absolutely vetoing that from being at number, what was this, number 13?
Yeah, 13. Yes. I mean, we're at the top, guys.
Yeah, we certainly are.
It's not like I threw it out there, 21, 20, and 19. I mean, I saved it for the top. The top of my middle list.
So your argument for me not to use my veto would be that you don't like other movies.
No, I fully expected you to.
Okay, good.
Honestly, to use your veto. That's
all right.
fine. But
now he's saying I should have put this way lower and made you use your veto. He did you a favor.
Yes.
So Jesse, I'll just say I agree with Jesse here. I think this is a good veto. To be honest, I didn't have it a ton higher on my list, but I feel like I want to have a little Spider-Man representation in that final episode. So this is one that's worthy of maybe bumping up the list. I think, when I watch these movies like this one, in the theater with my son, like tried not to hear too much about it going in.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of heard rumblings of maybe what was coming. Like when Andrew Garfield walks in that room or whatever, it was just like that was an exciting thing that was happening. We're enjoying that in the theater with my son, so that bumped it up a couple notches for me of just that getting to have that experience with him. But it's a good use of a veto here.
All right.
All right, so Cliff needs a replacement at number 13.
Okay, I sure do. Next on my list, I'm just going on my list.
Don't blame him. It's the
I'm just going to my list here, folks.
It's
That's
the
all.
list here, guys, and it's I made that list on how I like these movies, and since I can't have Spider-Man, I'm gonna go with Captain America: Civil War.
Whoa,
Man.
wow.
now I have to say I've been sitting here all night, shocked that the Captain America trilogy. No one has said the word Captain America in 2 episodes. I was like, are you going to let Seth have all 3 Cap movies in the top 10?
No way.
I couldn't imagine. But
No way.
we still have vetoes on the list. Anything could happen, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Civil War.
Civil War. Yeah, I agree with some of the criticism at the time. It was kind of bland. And kind of, I don't know, almost boring at points. I'm not a big hero fighting hero guy anyways. Everybody again made such a big deal because Spider-Man was in this movie, and I was just like, yep, he's in this movie. There
that
he
took
is.
it down a notch for you.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's an agenda here.
Ant-Man should have squashed him when he had the chance. Just like a fly on the windshield.
Does this go to Jesse first and then me? Is this how?
Yes, I think. Yeah, I've got a. So
this is the 3rd solo Cap movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
This kicked off phase 3. And yeah, we'd already had a couple of Avengers movie, but yeah, did this feel more like an Avengers movie than a Captain America movie? Maybe?
Yeah, somewhat. It's like it almost couldn't make up its mind what it wanted to be a little bit. And,
but we were expanding the universe so much at that point that it wouldn't make sense for Cap to be doing something and not have these other characters involved somehow and have feedback from one thing to the next. Like that was where we were at that point. Everything was really entangled.
Yeah, and and I remember just being like, yeah, it's a good movie at the time. I still feel that way. We're pretty high up on the list. Again, there's just stuff I like better than this movie. And I still after rewatching it, I still feel like, yeah, this is a good movie. It's not anywhere near my favorite of any of these movies. It's really good, sure. It's pretty high up on the list for me, but I do think there's better Captain America movies out there, or movies that have Captain America in it. And I know people went nuts over it, but it was just kind of okay, that's fine with me. And that was my initial review of it, and I still kind of feel the same way. It hasn't moved up for me.
So Jesse has 1 veto left, and he gets the next pick. So he literally has nothing to lose. Correct. Jared also has 1 veto left and a veto override. So
here's the thing. Okay. I want you to listen. You just listen to me, Jared, because I'm going to explain to you why you need to use your veto next.
Yeah, you're wanting me to use it, so I can't use it on you.
That's right. He's trying to protect his own picks.
Civil War, one of the most compelling movies, in my opinion. This is definitely top 10 worthy. There is a movie here that I want to make into the top 10. And I feel like this deserves to be there. This was an adaptation. Granted, it wasn't the scale of the Civil War that we got in the Marvel comics, but my goodness, folks. I mean, this was some great tension between superheroes at the time. And yeah, I can't believe that, if you pick up a Marvel comic, you're going to see hero versus hero a lot of times on those front covers. You're wondering why these guys are at odds. And this was a great way to get that across to a very it was a relatable concept as to why these two groups would be arguing or fighting over this. So I really do feel, Jared, that this belongs in the top 10, but I will tell you, top 11, I will tell you that I'm perfectly content with letting you feel the responsibility of letting Seth down. So go ahead, sir.
Oh, man, what a play! I'm going to use my veto. Yes, 100%.
Jesse, that's actually a good point that I agree with. Is that at the time the hype was so high on this movie? Part of the reason why I'm like, is probably I do think it was a little bit of a letdown on the scale of it, because comparing that story, Marvel, what they've done great about these movies is they've used so much of the original material, and then this thing came and it just wasn't on that scale at all.
I saw the meme, which was, a picture of what Civil War looked like in the comics, and then the empty tarmac of like 6 superheroes going at each other in the movie. But, you can only do what you can do. You can't can bring everybody in. We're going to save that for later. Trust me. We're going to get a little bit of there's going to be more characters on the screen in a bigger battle. But anyway, go ahead, Jared.
I will say, I think what it did maybe better than the comics, because the comic, the tagline was, "Whose side are you on?" And it was, Captain America, don't register. Heroes shouldn't have to register and give away their identity. Iron Man, yes, we should have accountability. Everyone should register with the government and be trained like police or the military. And the idea was they're both right. And whose side would you take on this complicated issue? And the comics ended up making Iron Man the villain. Like, Iron Man did some underhanded stuff, and it wasn't as even an argument as it should have been. And the movie did that a little, like, this is a Captain America movie. He was the good guy, but I feel like the movie was maybe even more subtle or more, there was, it wasn't as black and white. Iron Man had very good points. Like, Sokovia was we screwed up. An untrained hero killed a bunch of people. So, I feel like the movie did a really good job of, playing both sides and saying, here's a complicated real world global issue that would occur if there were superheroes in the real world. So I'm glad this was vetoed, because I have no power.
Yeah. So when I kind of was re-ranking this week, in anticipation of this one, and I was kind of redo it. I mean, this thing just kept shooting up to the top, and I mean the tip top of my list. Okay. Freaking love this movie. I totally get, some of the the meme of, there's 8 people running on an empty tarmac, right? But I think, so that part maybe was a little disappointing at the time. But I think with the hindsight of, like, dude, we got friggin' Endgame, right? Like, we got what we wanted in Endgame. We didn't want that then. We thought we would. We thought we did, but we didn't. We did not want or need that in 2016 when Civil War happened. It was much more about these specific characters. I love all the. Is this the movie where he does the plant yourself like a tree? He gives that speech in this one. Am I misremembering? That's Civil War, right?
I don't remember if that's Civil War or Winter Soldier.
Been a while, buddy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's you again. It's a lot
Jared,
of fallout from Age of Ultron. You get you totally get where Tony's coming from. You get his frustration with, like, this, we need to do this, but you get where Cap's coming from. So I love that dynamic of those two. I love them rounding up the other guys. Pulling in Ant-Man and all that kind of stuff. Again, it was a moment for me in the theaters when Iron Man shows up in Queens, and you're like, oh, here it is. It's happening right now. Spider-Man's in the MCU. This is huge. For those of us who don't hate Spider-Man, that was a big deal. This one kept climbing up to the top of my list, and I'm talking like top 3 of my list. So I cannot abide it at 13. So I have to be there.
No, you say, oh, we didn't need that big thing, that big Endgame moment in 2016. I could have used a win in 2016. I would have happily taken that in 2016.
I got you. Yeah, that's fair.
We got to build our way up to it. We got to work our way. It's a universe, a cinematic universe we're developing here. Stepping stones. Go ahead.
Yeah, and these characters are so well defined by this point. You say hero versus hero is boring, but, like, the hero stuff was great. Cap, comparing Brooklyn and Queens. Black Widow being like, I don't want to fight you. Like, we're buddy. Like, the Black. We don't mention Black Panther. Introducing T'Challa at this point. So like, that the airport fight, you can call it a letdown, but it's so well done character wise, and I think the action's really good. We get a big surprise with Ant-Man becoming Giant Man. I don't know top 3, but I'm high on this movie as well. So Cliff gets a third pick, and Jesse still has a veto, so you better do it right.
Just gonna keep picking.
This guy knows how to play the game.
Let's.
We thought we were zipping through this, but we're gonna stall.
I knew the top was gonna be. There was gonna be an argument for some stuff. I get to pick again, and I'm just gonna stick with Captain America and going with the first Avenger. Again, movie I really like. I love the World War II stories. The first Avenger. Okay, well, maybe that title's a little, I don't know. Maybe not. I might have called it a little something different, but that's fine. That's fine. It's just, I like all these movies. We're getting up into, I can't say I don't like any of these, I just can't do it. I like these movies. But as far as this one goes, it's a little bit of maybe the effects aren't as good in some of the spots. That's about all I got. We've all seen it 100 million times. So,
as far as what remains on my list, this would have been where I put this then. I'm not going to argue against this. Is this our first look at Chris Evans as Steve Rogers in this film? I mean, yes. I mean, mm-hmm. And of all, there are some great casting for all these characters. I would say Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark really surprised me at how great that was. And Chris Evans as Steve Rogers. Granted, he'd been in a few Marvel movies before, Fantastic Four, ladies and gentlemen. So he knows how to play a superhero. But I mean, as Captain America, Steve Rogers, he did a fantastic job, and he will always be Captain America, in my opinion. As far as the movie goes, it's a great movie. Today I spent. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a basic origin story. It's one of the. It's like every time they come out with a Batman movie. Well, speaking us, not everybody, not Joe Public out there, but we all kind of know the origin story, right? We've seen it a bunch of times in a bunch of different media, and that I think is just why I have it here. It's not a bad movie. I like the performances. I like Tommy Lee Jones in it. Like, I like all this stuff about it. I can't fault the movie. It's this high up on the list. Right. Well, I actually had it a little bit higher, but you guys vetoed my picks. So, but but it's an origin story, and that's pretty much, I kind of feel like, all it is.
Yeah, and we're in the nascent days, the real early days of this is phase 1. You know, we're getting ready. So we've kind of got, this is the blueprint that I was thinking they were going to do with most of it. You guys mentioned how Black Widow should have been phase 1, so we could get that understanding of who that character is and what's happened that's essentially caused them to be the way that they are. So this was perfectly placed as far as phase 1 goes. This is where this needs to be. We need to know about who Captain America is, and we get our look at as far as villains go. What other Captain America villain could there be other than the Red Skull? Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull. A lot of people applaud him for what he did here, although he didn't do he probably could have done a little bit more if they would have let him. But I mean, he was fantastic as the Red Skull as it was. And just some of the great stuff that happens in this movie to kind of show you the type of man and the hero that Steve Rogers is, even before he gets the serum. It's a great origin story. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's going to have to be in the bottom half for me as well, or excuse me, middle half.
The middle
Part. Just do the middle. It's not mid, folks. Top half of the middle. 50% of something.
Yeah. So a moment ago, when Cliff said Captain America, I was assuming it was going to be First Avenger as kind of the lower ranked movie, and then he hit me with Civil War. My head exploded. I had this one a little bit higher. This one kind of snuck into the bottom of my top 11. But I can't, I don't have a veto, first of all, but I can't really argue with the placement here. I'm okay with this placement. I understand I'm a big Captain America fan, but maybe can't cram all three in the top 11. I'm okay with that. What's happening?
Oh,
hurry up!
You mentioned
finish
Steve
it before
Rogers.
he gets here. One more pick, Jesse. Go. Don't let him influence you, Jesse. Keep going.
Oh boy.
Number 12. Come on.
Yeah, so I agree that, like, again, we're to the point here where we're talking about how much we like these movies. Yeah, this one it gave us the I can do this all day, right? That's the character of who Steve Rogers is before he ever got a single muscle. That's still who he is. Through all those rest of these movies. And this movie established that and did a great job. And we got Peggy Carter and the Tommy Lee Jones character and all that stuff. Yeah, I love this movie. Like I said, I didn't have it ranked that much higher, so I can't really argue with this placement. So there it is.
So by the skin of our teeth, we don't have all three Captain America movies in the top 10. So that keeps Seth from being too smug. One.
I'm not, but now that I am here, folks, I don't know that I had all three of them in the top 10.
Okay. Well, you wouldn't have minded it.
They
sure.
saved you.
I wouldn't have minded it. I assume if this was if you're on your last pick, is that what it was? This is about where I had it.
No, we have one more to go.
Okay. No, it should be higher. It should be bump it up.
Yeah, my opinion, I'm exactly what Jared said. When Cliff said Captain America, I thought, yep, there we go. And then he threw a curveball. But yeah, I wouldn't have had this in the top 10 either, even though I love the Cap trilogy. To me, this first one, besides phase 1 origin story, it's a little by the numbers, but those numbers are great. The first half of this movie is perfect. There's not one thing I would change from the origin story, Skinny Steve being recruited, being on the military base, getting the serum. It all works. And then he goes to World War II. He saves the Howling Commandos. And you're like, yes, let's go. And then there's these weird weapons with using the Tesseract and the pew pew with the Nazis with the G.I. Joe laser guns. Yeah. And the ending just doesn't fit. Red Skull, yes, is his arch nemesis, but he's just not super great in this movie. So the ending doesn't live up to the first half, but I'll put that first half against any of these origin stories whatsoever.
Okay, so Jesse.
All right, so with pick number 12, this is the last pick before our top. And nobody. Oh wait, no. Cliff does have a veto.
So yes, he does.
One veto, and
Jared one veto still in the wind.
Yes. Yes.
I have. Cliff has a veto. I have a veto override.
Okay. All right. All right then.
I like the sound of that.
So I'm not safe then. So oh boy.
But
you
Jared might save you.
Jiu-jitsu Jared very well in that last pick.
So whatever.
Played me on that last one, so I don't know if I should help you here or not.
If Cliff wants to mess with you to get something, Jared can save us all. Go ahead.
Okay, I love it. All right. Well, I have 3 movies that were on my list that have not been put here in the middle. And I am going to go with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So, remember, this is number 12. There's 11 other Possibly greater.
I don't have any idea what you guys picked. I just got here.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I will say this is a surprising turn of events.
I'm going with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 just because I loved the first one. And you guys provided this stays here. Are going to have a lot of fun to talk about that in the top 11 because the first volume was fantastic. You have to set with this sequel. You've got to have a good villain's going to make your movie. A good story is going to make that movie. There was a lot of, daddy issues that were worked through here in this film, and it was very compelling. Who is Peter Quill's father, and what we learn about the relationship with his actual dad versus the relationship with his father figure, which of course was Yondu. So there was a lot of great moments in this movie. But as far as Kurt Russell's playing Ego, was that what he was? Ego, the living. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was okay. All right. I wasn't really impressed with how that villain came off. It's a great Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Our currency theory, right? Like Kurt Russell should be on United States currency. $5 bill.
I am not saying that man is a bad actor. That's for sure. He is not. But again, this is a sequel. I'm not going to put it above the initial. And Seth, be ready because Volume 3's already made it on this list.
Yes.
So, I'm going to have to set it here at number 12. What say?
Cliff gets first veto. He's the only one with veto left. So.
This has been I have to say this is the most. I've never been so sure of anything in my life as this veto. Like, I mean,
really?
I Cliff is 2 doors away, and I can feel
I can feel the veto.
The hum. like get it. We're gonna be talking about this movie again.
Hey guys, do I look cool?
You look cool, man.
You're supposed to say like I look like Mary Poppins.
I knew the Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins.
If I will say, if you are going to be too, don't freaking talk too much.
Yeah. I will just say, if I could just make a big old V on my screen for veto.
Okay.
Yeah. Guardians 1 and Guardians 2 are. There's not a big separation on quality, on story, on everything with me. I love these movies. You talked about Kurt Russell, great villain. So fun having him in there, and the introduction of Mantis to the crew. Kraglin plays a big old part. Yondu is phenomenal. And there at the end with the Ravager funeral, man, it still gets me. Just such a great story for that character alone. And that's what I love. We talked about the family aspect and a bunch of weirdos, and I love all of that stuff. But this one really hits home for me. I love it. It's hard to knock this movie in any way for me. So yeah, it's definitely a veto for me. Absolutely. I think it deserves to be in the top 11 of these movies. And I had it a lot higher.
He's studying. He's trying to figure out what he's going to put next.
Jared, would you have vetoed that one as well?
So I would not have vetoed this. Question is, I have a veto over it.
All right.
Oh.
You think this is where it goes?
I agree with Jesse. I can override Cliff's veto. And
you two are guests here. You're very.
You do want to be asked back at some point, right?
I know, that's what I'm worried about. I told you it's pressure. Okay, I was worried about Steph when we first started. Now I'm worried about Cliff. Yeah, I mean, okay. First Guardians, that deserves to be in the top 10. It deserves to get the consideration for the top of the list. I'm fine with that. The sequel, I had lower, right? So it comes down to, do both of them deserve to be in the top 11 and get consideration? Again, we're at the top 12 here. I love all these movies. These are great movies. Kurt Russell, great. Yeah, this is one where you kind of finally get that that weird family dynamic, and it's really clicking on all. Cylinders,
it's
right?
got a great beginning with Groot dancing and a great ending with the chain playing and they're fighting. Oh my gosh.
Here's the question.
You shouldn't have killed my mom and stole my Walkman.
Exactly. So if I veto this, then Jesse's got to put something else there, and it could be something that got a lot higher.
It's already
vetoed. He still has to do that. Either way.
All you have to
unless
do is
you
make
don't,
a decision
unless you
use that override. Please.
That's true. Yeah, he can stop that. He can put the brakes on here.
Yeah, I can say it's on the list, and we're done. With my power.
He's
power's going to your head.
He's wallowing around in the power. He's
Yeah, I think. I feel like I've already disappointed Seth with this list. I might as well disappoint Cliff too.
Oh,
I'm going to use my veto.
What?
Oh my god!
Okay, full thing. I had Volume 2 at number 15 on my list, right? So it's on at 12. I cannot, in good conscience.
I remember you saying something last time that made me think you didn't like this movie as much as we did, and I was like,
I don't remember what I said.
Yeah,
I mean, it's at 12. It's top 12. That's great. That's we love it. That means we love it. Cut his mic, Cliff.
Cut his mic.
Yeah.
I make that up. I'm gonna override, and we'll leave it there, and we'll let the
anticlimactic. We thought we had another pick coming, but no, that's where we're stuck.
Wow.
Hey, Seth gives us the powers. We're gonna use them. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, it's exciting. This is exciting. I have to chime in though that if this is our last hurrah for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I'm a Cliff. This is not. It is below Guardians for me, but not by much. This really rings with me. Like when the chain starts playing, I mean, that's one of the big moments in this whole saga. Like I love that. And again, just from beginning to end, it's good. There's a little bit in there in the middle that is the reason it's a lesser movie, but this ragtag group, getting emotional. This is a tearjerker movie with a great villain, and I'm gonna miss it. I would have had this. I do have this in my top 10. So, but I'm fine with the consensus. If we got a couple Ka-Pow people, we got a couple Jessies, the Jesse and a Jesse, saying it needs to be here. I'm fine with that.
And I have a very similar reaction.
When you look at the list all together,
I'm waiting. I can't wait till this recap. I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for the recap.
I think it'll look good.
If I suddenly hear what's left, it's a bunch of crap.
I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
I do too.
But I'm just Guardians. I said was in the same place as Ant-Man, where my memory from seeing these years ago was that 1 was amazing, 2 was lesser, but I still liked it. Rewatched Ant-Man, changed my mind. They're both great. Rewatched Guardians before Volume 3, same thing. I'm like, what in the world did I want from 2? 2 is almost right on par with 1. So,
so good.
My long-term memory is different when I did do a recent rewatch.
Yes. I've had that experience with a lot of these movies lately. Yeah. I want to recap.
All right, that is it for part 2, as we call the middle. Thank you for our 2 guests for stepping in and jumping in on this and helping us out. So here's where we landed.
Exciting.
Pick 21, Cliff wasted no time throwing a spider out the door. Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh my God.
A bit of a shock.
Yeah.
That's a shocker. Man,
Right.
that'll get him in the door. Jeez.
Right.
Guys, we started off with the most wrong pick. One
I
of the
stand
best
by it.
Marvel villains ever.
Wait till you hear the anguish I had to swallow to figure out if I was going to use a veto.
He's just trying to make people burn vetoes.
You should have used it,
He was,
Jesse.
he was smart to use it in that slot because we felt like there wasn't much point vetoing
Yeah.
it. He had too many other chances.
These guys have
we
learned how to be
really
ruthless, Seth. You'll be proud of them, how ruthless
Nice.
they were.
Oh, I had no doubt. That's why I picked him. That's why I puppeteered this whole thing. I heard Jared say, I like cat punching things. I was like, I like the cut of your jib.
All right, so Cliff had the second pick as well and went with Doctor Strange.
Wait. So you're telling me
Yeah. Yep.
nobody vetoed Homecoming?
No.
Because
We couldn't. He had
Because-
20. He had 21 and 20 right
yes,
back.
Cliff
back
had the
to
first
back.
two picks, so they were afraid if they vetoed it immediately, he would just throw it right back on the list and waste their veto.
Cliff mysteriously dies in his sleep tonight. That's a huge mistake. Go on. Hate
All right,
it.
so yes, Spider-Man: Homecoming off the list.
Cliff's a
20,
dummy. Go ahead.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which just barely escaped the bottom third.
That's
so
all I wanted.
That's all right. With pick 19, Jared said Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3,
Nice.
and there wasn't a lot of argument, I don't think.
Good.
Pick 18 were to Jesse, and he said Iron Man 3
Yeah.
because he is with Jared. He ranks 2 above 3, so he had no problem getting Iron Man 3
Right.
off the list. 17, Black Widow, because we
Okay.
talked about the odds that were stacked against it of when it came out during the pandemic after the character was dead. So
Yeah.
what
It's
chance
good-
did this
good
movie
flick.
ever have?
Good flick.
And then we hit the top half of our list with 16. Cliff said Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah, that's good. Good placement.
At 15, Jared had Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah. You guys are nailing it so far, except for that one major faux pas.
And then at 14, I think Jared's a Spider fan, but he had to do Spider-Man Far From Home
Yeah.
because he agreed with me that one,
That's the
Homecoming,
weakest.
should have been above that one.
Oh,
We'd already that
way,
ship at
way
sail.
above. Way above. Way above.
All right, so that was his last pick. That was Jared's last pick, Spider-Man Far From Home. And then we get the Cliff's last pick at 13. He tries to get all the Spider-Man out and says Spider-Man No Way Home, which Jesse vetoed. Jesse's a spider guy. He's a
Yeah.
multiverse guy.
Oh, yeah.
He was all over that. He said, no way, Cliff. So Cliff says, all right, for the first time ever, a Captain America movie makes this. He says Captain America, takes a breath, and then says Civil War.
Mhm.
And we, our jaws dropped. Jared said, are you crazy? Get that out of here. So Jared vetoed
Get out of
that
here.
one.
Get out of here with that trash.
So for his third pick in that slot, Cliff went with Captain America First Avenger, that we all reluctantly agreed was the weakest of the three caps.
Yeah.
So we let him have it. And then with the last pick, Jesse says Guardians Volume 2. Cliff says, I will destroy you, no way. Jared says, yes way. He puts it back on the list in a shocking twist. Leaving only one Guardians movie left to talk about next time.
Well, all in all, I think my list is totally intact, except I would have No Way Home, one of the last ones out, and Homecoming making it up here into this top 11. So,
And if you didn't notice,
what?
no mention of Ragnarok.
Oh no!
Right.
Of
And I
course,
will-
these
I will
freaking
tell you.
psychopaths.
I will tell you that was what I came in here to make sure made it into the top 11.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to worry about any of these guys talking about it at all. Thank goodness
Yeah.
I didn't have to waste a video to get that up there. But
Well, good luck, buddy. You better like it. Ain't gonna make top 10.
It was the next one on my list. I had Guardians Volume 2 lower than Thor Ragnarok. So I had to stick with where I had Guardians.
The other three that I had on my list. Okay,
yeah,
so
I'm dying to know if he hadn't overridden that. What was your next pick?
Yeah.
Jesse?
It would have been Ant-Man. It probably would have been Ant-Man because the only other one that I had was Guardians 1. So I didn't want Guardians 1 to be down here, but I had it on my list because Ragnarok was going in the top 11. And granted, the thing is I came into this thinking I had to pick 11 or make sure I had 11. I didn't realize I was only doing 10. So my bad. But anyway, regardless, that's where it was. That's where it was.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I'm happy with, like I said, a lot of this stuff kind of ended up about where I had it. Yeah, the one that was way off for me was I had Homecoming, top 10.
Homecoming's way up there.
Yeah, so
way up for Michael Keaton is amazing as the Vulture. It's perfect casting. I love the way they did that. I love the stuff with him and Peter in the car when when he just confronts him. That's so good. I love that movie. Just watched it recently and it's a banger.
Yeah, my goals of the middle list were to keep Guardians 2 off of it, which I did not succeed. And I was hoping to get as many Spider movies as I could in this middle, which
the true greatest Spider villain.
Yes, indeed.
I'm pretty happy. You guys did a good job. I didn't expect exactly my list. I expected a consensus. So sounds like it went really well.
You guys knocked off 2 of my top 11. Would have been Spider-Man: Homecoming and Guardians 2, but they weren't top 3 or 4. So that's a fair list. I think we had a good consensus.
The only problem I see is Cliff's still in it here with us, Jordan, in top 10 when we got to pick this. Still got a Cliff problem.
Well, there's only 11 movies
I know.
left.
There
was only so much we could do with that.
All right, so you Marvel fans out there, what the next 11 are. You've already counted them off your list.
Yeah,
what's going to hit that list.
We're not
next,
telling you.
But you don't know what order they're going to be in. It could be anything. We might throw crazy wild cards at you. Who knows? So that is it for part 2 of this list. Thank you very much to Jared. Thank you to Jesse. Anybody got it? Plugs, you want to tell us where to find you?
I'll step in here. Yeah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, check out the Source Material Comics podcast. It is out there on your podcatcher, I think is what they call them. Anyway, you could subscribe and listen to me talk about comics. We have the Source Material Comics podcast, which we just get in there and we talk about any storyline we can find out there in the comic world. And then we also have the 90s podcast. We talk about 90s comics, unspoken issues. We got all sorts of, I think we're coming up on our 90th episode pretty soon. But just recently, I think we talked, it's recorded, Punisher Pariah, which happened in the Punisher War Journal series. And it was a lot of fun. Almost got Stephen Grant on, but we decided not to. Other than that, that's where I'm at.
Well, I listened to, I think, the most recent Source Material. And I loved. Jesse said he could not fathom why someone in this comic called, it was Namor, right?
Yeah,
they called Namor Cookie Cutter Head. And he was just like, I don't understand this. Somebody tell me what the cookie cutter head. Then he proceeds to call this other guy coffee mug head.
Erisham,
which is clearly a coffee mug. Somebody looked at their coffee mug and made that guy. And I was like, and you don't know why they're calling Namor cookie cutter?
I can't figure it out.
I made a whole diagram and sent it to him today. I'll send them to you guys here in a second. But I was like, here, I'll clear this up for you. It was fun, but I will say that I listened to that and I had to stop everything else I was doing to concentrate. I had to pick, because you went through the whole annual stuff.
Oh.
I was like, I want to make sure I'm catching all of this. So I just had to stop, and I was just like standing there listening to it.
It's like
It was
great.
very heavily detailed.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it very much.
It's good stuff.
I don't have anything to plug. This will probably be my last appearance on Ka-Pow.
Good knowing you, Jared. The fans will no longer be known as Jesse. So
Now, I actually had the thought you guys should come back for the next episode, even if you're not voting. You could throw in your.
oh, I
opinions
would
and
love
stuff.
to listen for sure. Yeah, that'd be fun.
So, you open invitation for the third part of this countdown to Jesse and to Jared and to you out there in KPP land. Come back. You might know what movies are on the list, but you don't know what we have to say about them, and I'm sure it'll be plenty. Until then, my name is Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. That's Jesse. That's Jared. Bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast at gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.